I'm Mandy Yarkich from Creative Matters, and you're listening to Creative Matters on Air, where I have conversations with new and established artists from around New Zealand. I love to listen to artists' stories and learn about their creative process, and maybe you do too, which is why I've made this podcast, to inspire, inform and educate. I hope you can take away something positive and encouraging from each of these amazing stories to help you on your own creative journey. Welcome to Creative Matters Episode 4. Thank you so much for listening. Today I'm talking to Amanda Kemp. Amanda is a ceramicist and a painter who specialises in hand-built sculpture using clay, often in the form of jewellery and wall installations. She lives at Muriwai Beach, northwest of Auckland, New Zealand, is a mother of 2 adult children and a grandmother to little Maui. You can see images of Amanda's beautiful work on the podcast blog, which accompanies this episode, on our website, creativematters.co.nz, or you could check out her website at uku-amandakemp.com. I know you're going to really enjoy hearing Amanda's story and the thinking behind her beautiful work. So sit down, grab a cuppa and enjoy. Welcome to Creative Matters, Amanda. It's so good to have you back here again.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, and we're going to just tell the listeners that we did have a slight technical hitch with your podcast, and as I'm quite new to podcasting, and your episode was only, I think, the 2nd or 3rd episode that I'd recorded, unfortunately we had a little deletion situation.
Yeah, but it's all good.
It's all good now.
Fine.
Lots of great learning, and I really appreciate you coming back for.
It's certainly no hardship to be here.
Oh, it's nice.
At that view and having a cup of tea with you.
Yeah, thank you. So good to have you back. Okay, so let's do this. Mark 2. So, what have you been up to?
Yeah, really busy week. And doing a wood salt firing out at Auckland Studio Potters. I actually missed the main bit of the firing because I had a tummy bug, which was pretty frustrating.
Oh, that's no good.
I did I got everything organised and helped with the stacking and missed the good bit, which was the firing, and then helped unload, and so at least work got done, my work got in, which is fantastic because wood firings are really special. And then the other part of my week was launching my new website, which is equally as exciting because it's taken me a good part of this year to put it together. It's been a real sort of family affair with my daughter, who's the main face and really beautiful spirit in there, and my son, who has been very patient with helping me with the tech side of things. So, I'm really happy with it. I feel amazing. A great sense of satisfaction and achievement,
I
actually.
Bet you do. And I've had a look at it, actually, Amanda, and it's just a beautiful website. It's very easy to navigate. The pictures photographs are stunning.
Yeah.
And it really kind of depicts your place and your work beautifully, I think.
Yeah, it was the pics were taken out here at the end of the coast road, which is sort of quite a remote part of the beach. And the pics were done by an incredibly talented friend, Kate Vanderdrift, who works amazing. But we just had a beautiful day. The 3 of us just sat down, set our intention, and we just had fun together. And it was the feeling of the images was very much captured with the feeling of the day, and I just set the bar for a beautiful website. So from there, really
so nice,
happy,
isn't it, to be able to involve your family.
Yeah,
something like that?
I just wanted to keep it personal and intimate. I did actually get a lot of advice from people who don't use your daughter as the model, and because you need a professional, and don't try and do it yourself because it's too bloody hard. And it was hard. It was bloody hard.
Yeah, I bet.
I had to put a hell of a lot of different hats on, and it certainly was using a part of my brain that has been pretty redundant. So I had to, it was a very rusty part that's now shiny and clean. So, it was good for me. It was good for me to do something that's difficult. It was, challenging, but I managed to pull it off in the end.
You feel good now you've done it.
feel good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we can talk about that again later. So do you mind just telling us about where you were born, your childhood, and what kind of kid you were?
Sure. I was born in Manatuki, which is... Gisborne was my big town, about 30, 40 minutes out of Gisborne, near Young Nick's Head, around there. Another Muriwai, actually. It's from one Muriwai to another.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
My ancestry goes right back on both sides of my parents to the Gisborne area. We lived on a vineyard until I was about 12, and then we moved to the family farm in closer into Gisborne, and at about 12, I suppose, and it was an interesting. It was a good childhood. My mother is Rongawhakata. Very small Māori community, Manatuki, and it was very grassroots. And from there I went to boarding school at around 12, actually, which is too young to be sent away to school. It was quite tough.
Yeah, I bet.
Got really homesick, but had a decent group of friends around me, which really helped. As a child, I don't think I was very creative, to be honest. I was the middle child, and in many ways just sort of fitted into the rest of my family, quite a big family, and I just felt like I was just a very average kind of person who wasn't particularly, interesting or important. It's a weird thing to say about myself.
I can understand. I think I felt a bit the same myself, really.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I've come to know that about myself. I obviously had a slight inferiority complex somewhere. I very much felt like an average kid with not really that much special or interesting or whatever going on.
You're a late developer, obviously.
Yeah.
It came to you later. And were your family creative or sort of artsy?
Yeah, really artsy, especially on my mother's side. All artists, so very much creatives, and with all the chaos that goes with that. And so I was sort of quite, not anti the arts, but I didn't really feel like I just wanted to do that normal thing and go down that route like most of my family members. So when I went to boarding school, they were very academically focused. So I picked up on that rather than the art side, because it wasn't really that interesting or developed there, and became very interested in chemistries and sciences, and that's what I ended up doing in my study when I left school.
And I can see the connection with the chemistry and science with some of your work now, which is interesting, isn't
definitely. It's definitely merged, which is fantastic. My art, I would say, has 3 tiers. One is the creative, one is the science, chemistry side, and the other one is philosophy, really. So it did help me in the end. It was all part of building my foundation. So yeah, really helpful and important that those early years with my, my building my academic side. So that was the right thing to do. That was the right path.
Yeah, and in hindsight, it probably was an important stage in your journey towards what you're
really
doing now,
important.
which you may not have sort of connected at the time.
Well, a lot of ceramics too is very much chemistry focused. And, there's also a lot of, working out how things are done, how are made, how problem solving. There's so much of that involved in the arts. People don't realise that.
Yeah.
So, to have that that wide kind of knowledge of a bit of everything really helps in the end, getting that finished work done.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after high school, you went to university?
Yep, I did Consumer and Applied Sciences. I didn't actually finish that. I think I did, was it 3 years? And the reason I didn't finish was because I found a sort of new love, and I suppose it was my creative side, in that I paid my own way, and I paid my own way by working in restaurants in Dunedin and in the holidays. And I suddenly my creative kind of gene just fired, and I was just completely in love with creating food. And I thought, wow, I just want to be the best chef ever, that I can possibly be. So I saved up. I did the Kiwi OE into London and thought, right, I'm just going to get jobs in all the top places I can and start at the bottom and learn as much as possible, and that's what I did.
That's incredible.
So yeah, that's when my creative side really kicked in. I was just, and I loved it. I was just so hungry for learning in that way, and it wasn't just the making of the food, it was the whole psychology around food that really interested me, the way it brings people together and, the emotions that it creates, when you make food and eat together, and all of it.
And the visual
and
side
the visual,
of it.
yeah, it was just, I was just so in love with it.
Amazing.
And then I started painting food, and that is, that's the next link. Yeah, so that's how it happened. And I think I didn't really take myself that seriously in what I was doing. But what happened is the place that I was getting my paintings framed at in London, they asked if I wanted to sell my work there because they were actually a gallery as well. And I was shocked. I thought, oh my God,
It's really common, isn't it, for people when suddenly someone wants to buy your work?
Yeah, I just never thought of it. And all my work was sort of under my bed. And suddenly it all came out, and I had my first exhibition and shared exhibition, and it just went from there.
Wow. And was that acrylics or oils?
That was, I think, that was mixed media. at that point I was just painting with whatever I had. And they were colourful, loose, pictures of what I'd cooked or what I'd seen or,
So interesting. And were you taking photographs and sort of storing those and then coming back to them painting, or were you
just anything really? It could be photographs, it could be just sketching there and then and going from there, just whatever I saw in whatever format. If I liked the look of it, I'd have to paint it. I just have to. And I was pretty prolific actually. And when I came back to New Zealand, I had a studio in Newmarket, and sharing with other artists, and I produced quite a lot of work there. And one guy who loved my work, he bought about 15 of them in one hit for his restaurant in Takapuna, and
amazing.
I was off.
That's
I was
so
off.
Good. Oh, I didn't realise that. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
it came from your cooking.
Yep.
And was there someone who inspired you with the cooking? Like, was there somebody who was a mentor to you at that time?
Maybe my Uncle Richard, who spent a lot of time in Europe. He was an artist, but also the way he cooked was very European and also Pacific in its way, in the way that I love. And he probably rubbed off on me, I would imagine. Food is generally a pretty important part of my family. We love food, and we love getting together and food and wine. My family's got a wine business, great little vineyard. So, that's always been a big part of my wider family interests. All being artists, it all kind of falls into the same hat, doesn't it?
And
really?
you still have an interest in food now, I guess.
Yeah, I love food. I don't. It's not really what I paint anymore. I haven't painted food for a long time. But
it'd be interesting to go back to it, wouldn't it? See what happens.
I don't think I could, because it was. I really, really did it till there was no drop left. I was just so, in love with it that I think I almost burnt myself out in the food department. But I do love cooking still. I still, love. I mostly love it when people cook for me, to be honest.
That's really fun.
I love eating other people's food.
It seems to taste so much better.
Yeah, even if it's something really simple, food will always be a big part of what I love of my life, really.
So after back in London with the cooking, you stayed there, it was about 10 years, wasn't it?
No, not that long. About 2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
That was when my, visa expired, and I was ready to come home then. I was ready to, I was missing everyone. I came home and lived in Titirangi, and then picked up, I did sort of part-time chefing, and then the other part was painting, and then actually painting took off, and I was full-time from there.
Full-time painting. And how long were you doing that?
Until maybe just thinking, I'm not very good with dates, but I would imagine it would have been, I would have been doing it for maybe 10 years or so.
And that was full-time?
Yep, full-time.
How great is that?
I actually made pretty good living out of it, really, but I pretty much it was being led by the galleries. I was in a great gallery in Wellington, actually, and they were selling a lot of work, but I then started to want to change because my work, because I was changing, and it was becoming very abstract, and my chemistry was starting to knock on the door. And it became less sellable because of that. And I was actually okay with that because I needed to follow my path.
The gallery
found it a little less sellable. But that's all fine. I was fine with that. I just needed to, find a different way of working things that fitted where I was right now.
But I think, in most of, or almost all of the episodes so far with the podcast has been, we've ended up talking about that tension between selling and making work that you want to make or what the gallery wants you to make. And it's tricky.
A hard one. Yeah, it is. I think it's just one of those things that most artists, unless their work is very kind of mainstream and commercial, which is great for some, but if you are a bit more of a purist and you want to, that the more important thing is to keep that integrity and that authenticity with who you are right now, I think that does always become an issue that you have to deal with.
And I think you get confidence over time with that kind of thing. I know with my own art practice, I am much braver taking risks and doing what feels good for me, no matter what people think of it.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's experience or personality or what. I think the more you do it, the more confident you feel about doing your own thing.
I think you've really got to believe in what you're doing, and you have to. There's always a transition time that you've got to get through until people actually see what you're doing is good. And, as long as you can ride that and trust, and is important, that it will, come through the other side. And it's important that it's not just once that you do it in your life, it's multiple times. And it's fundamental to keeping that that authentic product that's that's got that specialness about it that's unique to you. And it's really important.
And I think artists go through lots of different phases through their journey, really, of when they start new things, try something different or try out new materials, and it's almost like it takes you back sometimes to when you didn't have so much confidence, and it would be easy in a way to keep going with what you know, but stepping out of your comfort zone I think is good.
It is very important. I think that it's also important that you have, I was just thinking of laying your initial foundation as an artist. I think, and I had I had a studio out here. It was just a very wonky shed in the bush, and it's very difficult to kind of separate yourself before you work with the everyday stuff, the top layers, if you like, and it's painting from that place is it reflects, where you are sitting at the time. So if you can lay the foundation in yourself, where you really get in touch with yourself and you connect with your, you make those connections with your surroundings and out, I kind of look at it like, you're very conscious of you've got that deep consciousness within yourself, but you've also got that consciousness with things outside of yourself. You've made that connection, and that's the place that I like to work from. It's a very difficult thing to explain, but it's I took probably 10 years getting myself to that place where I could very easily just tap into that, so that that's the place that I work from. Wherever I am, whatever time I've got, I can very much get back to that zone, and work from there.
And what are some of your creative rituals to help you into that?
I don't actually have a ritual so much, because I spent so much time, going through it in those 2 years. In the earlier days, I did have a ritual actually. I used to go for a walk along the beach, and then I would come back to my studio and I would lie on the floor.
I love it. Don't tell me too many people about that,
but here I am telling everyone about it. I'd lie on the floor and I suppose it was a form of meditation, when you think of it. I didn't give it that label then, but that's what it was. And then when I felt like I was in that place, it might have taken me 5 minutes. It might have been lying on the floor for the whole time.
A quick snooze.
Yeah. Then I knew that I was sort of ready. But now I'm able to step into my studio and I'm there straight away.
Yeah.
But it was only that those years of there's very occasionally, if I'm really unsettled, I'll find it difficult, but generally I can now just and as soon as I walk through that door, I'm in that place.
Yeah, and sometimes it's when you have that place to go to, and that's your signal to your entire body that this is time now. But also, maybe, did you have children at that time when you had to do the lying on the floor?
Yes, I did.
So that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah,
switching off.
I was very much in that mum time, and we all. It's very difficult to take that hat off, that mother hat on, and put any kind of hat on after that.
Exactly.
It was very good practice for me in where I am now, because I'm incredibly productive. When I walk in through the door, I'm straight into it and in the headspace that I need to be. And I feel really grateful for that.
And I guess that's from what you've been through. Your journey has kind of brought you to that place, either spiritually or physically, or
it's all part of laying the foundation. As I said, you need to go through those times. If I hadn't had any of that, especially the challenging bits, I wouldn't have this, the reaping the benefits of what I have now.
Yeah, absolutely. So your painting obviously evolved into more of a sculptural based work. Can you tell us about your process and your practice at the moment?
I think I got to the point where my work suddenly became less visual and more about my thinking brain, and I was very interested in this idea around consciousness and the hard question of consciousness, and I felt that was really going to be my lifelong work, working around the thinking of what it is and who we are and how it all works, and just exploring and really curious about all of it. And I then started developing these very sort of sculptural boxes that was all about, it was all going through different tiers to get to different levels, if you like, to get to the final level, which was inner consciousness and then outer consciousness, this connection with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I was thinking about this 15, 20 years ago, which kind of blows my mind, really.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You don't expect somebody to be thinking those sort of things, when you're a very young mother. And I started, my first step was memory, and all the different types of memory, and I did, there were 4 types of memory, and I did quite a lot of work, especially on autobiographical memory, and I did boxes that were housing little sculptural, very abstract, whatever I could get my hands on to represent an emotion around a memory, in these little boxes. And then on the outer on the perspex was the chemical formulation that helped lay that memory down in your brain. So a very kind of human, emotional element inside, and then the very black and white
scientific,
on the outer, and essentially the same thing, but obviously very different,
And were you actually labeling emotions to help the viewer?
No, not at all. They took whatever feeling they wanted to from each little box. Everyone was quite different, but I mean, some were more sort of clear, very clear, like, for instance, it could be something burnt and charred in the box, which most people would get as, something that was difficult, in a difficult emotion. Not everyone, though, and some were light and very light and translucent and ethereal, and the emotion that they got from that. But yeah, I loved doing those boxes, and I will pursue. My work that I'm doing now is all part of that stream.
Yeah, it seems to be quite connected.
Yeah, it's all connected, but I don't allow myself to be, excuse the pun, but boxed in. I allow myself to follow the paths that I think I should go down, but I think it is all very much the trunk, if you like, has been laid out for me, and I will just, but I will have the freedom to kind of explore, the branches really as I want to.
I'll have a photograph of that work on the blog, so people can really connect with what you're talking about. Yeah. So from there, how did you come to working with porcelain? Yeah,
porcelain. I was living in Onehunga because my kids were going to Michael Park's school, which is a fantastic school, by the way. So we actually had to leave Muriwai at that point, which was very sad. But, the kids were loving the school, and the commute was too much. But very nearby was Auckland Studio Potters, and I just thought, shoot, that is just such a fantastic learning resource for me, and it's just down the road, and it kept, niggling away at me, and even though I had, so much to do already, and I thought, no, I'm just going to have to fit it in somewhere, and
the universe was speaking to you.
Yeah,
obviously.
and Peter Longy, who is he's just incredible man and artist, was one of the tutors there. He had a huge waiting list at the time, but God knows how I managed to get a place, and I think I was taught by him for 6-7 years or something.
Wow.
Huge privilege, learnt so much, and just fantastic.
And did he have the kind of a more experimental approach which you sort of continued with, or were you learning more formal ceramic things as well?
He was he was my perfect teacher, really, because he passed on a lot of information, which was very helpful, but basically he let you run, and I needed to be let run because that's just the way I work. And he was very happy with that. Sometimes, especially in the early days, he probably looked at my work and thought, "Oh my God,
what the hell
up to?" But I think he quite liked that because we've become friends, and he's always interested in what I'm up to as I am with his work. So. He was the perfect teacher for me, and I learned that those years were so valuable.
Yeah, and they really informed your practice going forward, I guess.
Yeah, they did, and it just gave me another medium to work with, which I now incorporate my painting and my ceramics together, and which is it's just such and it's so great to have. To be knowledgeable and confident in different mediums in order to express what you want to say in a more dynamic way, and that's really exciting for me to have those two mediums that I now feel really strong in. And I think that sort of sets me apart a little bit from the others out there, because I love the way I can incorporate both mediums into the one work.
Yeah, it's really interesting how you do that. So can you explain that process?
Well, for instance, I am big on sort of abstract markings. So with my jewellery line, I'm very experimental with the markings that I put on my jewellery, handmade markings, and then straight into the clay, and then I have another, the glazing is also very experimental that I do. Technically, oh my God, the jewellery line has been such a huge learning curve. I had no idea, really. I had no idea how huge and how much I would need to learn in order to end up with a product that I was happy with.
In what way? Was it the material or
it was working with of course I ended up choosing one of the most difficult clays to work with, which is porcelain, and I work with a porcelain called Southern Ice, which is beautiful because when you fire it's fired at a very high temperature, and it's semi-translucent in the end, and I've got this thing about semi-translucency and light coming through it. I'm just in love with that concept. I also deeply love, organic, deeply organic work, which is the mud and the soil and the ochres and the stones and the, all of that. I love the contrast of the two, and that's kind of where I'm going to. But back to what I needed to learn. Porcelain, a very difficult product to work with, but I had to go through all the different clays, of which there are so many in order to find that clay that was right for me, or the clays. You often have a few clays that you feel fit with you. And then there's the chemistry, the glazing. The glazing is this whole new world of chemistry and experimenting with ways it can work or not work,
and different colours. And do you love that process of the firing, that sort of mystery and unexpected
all of
surprises?
that? You have no idea. I've got to the point now where actually I've got some idea, but I would literally be happy if I got one piece that I was happy with for years, because I couldn't help myself. I was just experimenting all the time. I just wanted to learn and learn and learn and learn, and until I felt that it just suddenly just fit into that place, but that felt right. But there was so much work involved in every part of it, and I think that will be forever in my learning. It is, but I think where I am now, I'm a lot more comfortable. I feel confident about how much I know, and I now have an idea of, when I open the doors, of basically what's likely to be in there. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
And
I will always have a love-hate relationship with that. But you should not be a ceramicist if you can't handle that part of it, because it is just a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, when you close that kiln door, just say, right, it's up to the kiln gods. From now on, and hands off.
And for people listening who might not be able to quite visualize what you're actually making, can you describe the jewellery and how it fits and sits on the body?
Well, the jewellery is mostly made from this beautiful Southern Ice porcelain, and I've got various different glazes that I've developed over quite a number of years that have become my, if you like, signature glazes.
And which colours would you say are your signature colours?
Well, they're all different, which is nice, because I think there's sort of they're all very different, which is interesting, isn't it? Because you'd think that I'd go down, a certain colour.
But I do feel like it's kind of earth-based, and
it is earth-based,
sea-based, and sky-based.
Yes, that is true. I am definitely getting my inspiration from the view that I'm looking at right now, which is water, it's the ocean, it's the trees, it's the bush, it's it's nature inspired, and it's that connection, that that really rich connection with nature, that I draw, that is my well, that I draw from. No doubt about it. And if you can feel that when you wear one of my pieces, it holds that energy very, very tightly.
And the pieces,
deeply.
the clay kind of sits on your chest, doesn't it? And sort of, it seems to just sit quite beautifully, I guess, if maybe the right person has chosen the right piece. And then it's connected by chains, is it?
It's mostly connected by chains. Some are connected by a recycled sort of tubing with freshwater pearls on the end. It's adjustable, but most of my work now is recycled gold and silver chains. and it's very organic. It's every single piece is one of a kind. I'm never able to make two of the same, even if I wanted to. But very organic, very wabi-sabi, as they say. I think there's something wrong with it if it's too perfect. I'll make it perfect and then I'll change it from there so it does have, a wonky organic feel about it, but it's a wonkiness that feels natural and right. It doesn't feel wrong. It feels more right.
And you do believe in the right person finding.
Yeah. Generally, when someone wants to buy one of my pieces, they will know which piece is for them. It's so obvious. They will pick it. That's mine. There it is. It's right there. They'll pick it up. They'll put it on, and it'll just fit perfectly. It'll look, just like they've been wearing it forever. And that's a really I love that part of the process.
Special.
I'm generally making for others. I am. I love what I do, but I am making for others, and I think I do love the giving part, the giving and receiving,
and it's nice in a way to be involved in that on a sort of personal level, isn't it? Instead of sending it all off in boxes for somebody else to sell. I guess.
I think my work will always be very personal. Because it's made and designed by me, I think I'm always going to be the core, and that suits me and my business philosophy. I don't think that will ever change. And to have that one-on-one contact with whoever wears and buys my work is I think really fundamental. It's incredibly important. It's not a commercial product at all. It's and I don't think it ever will be. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And tell us about your wall installations.
They're bigger versions of my necklaces, but they're probably more abstract. I'm able to go a little bit wilder with my wall sculptures. They are again porcelain, but I use also hand dug clays. The clays that I'm using at the moment are from here. One is a rich ochre colour. The other one is a sort of a red, beautiful red colour. And I've also got a black.
Can you actually combine with porcelain other clays?
Not really, because they shrink. They've got different shrinkages when they go into the kiln. So there's generally a bit of a mess at the end. I have actually worked out a combination of making it into a clay that is fireable, and that has again been a huge process for me. So I do a combination of the two, and I what I tend to do is add the if I make the porcelain body, if you like, I can press the very raw hand dug clays into the porcelain. So again, you've got that lovely contrast of
beautiful.
Very smooth white, translucent with the very raw kind of organic part of the dug clays. And I'm really fascinated with that contrast. I love it.
Yeah, sounds beautiful.
And then holes through in which you can thread more organic matter, which is maybe some dried plants, or maybe a beautiful piece of driftwood that's semi-burnt or whatever through the work. So it creates a very localized piece of art, which I again love.
Yeah.
You know,
and the firing process sometimes is in the land.
The firing process. The other, you know, the wood firings I love, but I love to do pit fires out here. That is, I adore pit fires in which you collect combustibles from the area. Generally, I do that from the beach, and it's you know, whatever will burn on the beach, you collect and dry. It could be seaweed and shells or driftwood, or, you know, dead seabird bones or feathers or whatever, because they all in the burning they give off different colours. So it's very much a handprint of you know the localized sort of area, what the end product is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're living in the city at the moment in an apartment. So do you always come back to Muriwai Beach for those materials, or could you go somewhere else?
I could go anywhere actually now. Again, it's that connection is, you know, Muriwai will always have that deep sense of home for me, as does the Gisborne area. Mm-hmm. But I now know that, you know, that connection is everywhere, and anywhere I may be, even in the city. It's, you know, I've worked that out. Took me a long time. It's pretty challenging.
Yeah.
But I now can get that connection wherever I am.
That's great.
And yeah, that's really great. But you know, I love the sea. I love, you know, the trees, the bush. But I don't feel deprived, you know. I don't feel that sense of longing to be somewhere else, you know.
Yeah. And it's you probably carry a lot of that with you.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I mean, I lived in an apartment in Valencia when George was with Team New Zealand a while ago. And, you know, with 2 kids in an apartment after living at Muriwai Beach, it was hard, and I actually did some painting there, and I was back here when I was painting, and everything I painted was sort of abstract views of this place, which was actually very cathartic for me, I think, and helped me in that sort of confined space. It kind of gave me openness. Yeah,
and there's learning in that. You know, there's learning in that. You know, that you can connect wherever you are.
Yeah,
and it's thinking of yourself not just as that one little being. You know, you are a being that's connected to so much else, and you know, it's, you know, hopefully at some point you realize that in your life, because it's very freeing, you know, in many ways, that and it helps to give you some kind of peace too.
And sort of helps you to express what you're needing or wanting. I find personally. So is there anything else you want to talk about with your practice or your process?
Just thinking, it's just such a huge thing, really. It's all consuming. I mean, I'm in a really good place right now. I feel very settled in where I am in my work. I know that I'll be learning my whole entire life. I've still got so much more to do, you know, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And wherever it takes me, you know, I'm so open to where it takes me.
Yeah.
But I've also sort of know roughly where I want to go to, which it's the combination of the two. But yeah, I love having various different things that I'm working on. I need that. I need to be able to have maybe 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 different things happening. so that I can, if I feel like I'm in a zone for something else, I can pick it up, and it just adds that point of interest. I think that really works for me. But yeah, I'm just feeling in a really good place with my jewellery line. It's been interesting because it's the most commercial part of what I do, but I feel very very at peace with that, because it's very much kept its integrity, and I haven't compromised in any way. It's something that I feel people relate to, where a lot of my other stuff some people might struggle to relate to it, because I really pushed the boundaries on
And does that feel
those.
good for you? Does it make any difference?
As in the jewellery or the sculpture?
People responding to the jewellery.
Yeah, I think that's actually really not. I've never had. Well, actually, I did in my early work. Everybody loved my food work, but I had a long period where I just went right on the outer and was pushing all kinds of boundaries, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah, but of course you're very much in your own bubble.
But it's great that what you're doing, that you're, the jewellery that you're making, that you're loving so much, that feels so much a part of you, is people are connecting with it, which is nice.
They, and it's, it's incredibly strong for some people. Some people have said to me, "Oh my God, that piece was made for me." That it was made for me, and they definitely get a sense of that, and I think that's really nice.
It's a beautiful compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that, and but I also have the freedom to be able to go off on my own little kind of crazy path and do something quite radical as well that nobody gets, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's good. And it's like you said, it's nice to have kind of little compartments that you can jump in and out of in some ways.
Yes.
So what excites you about your creative process, or about life? Or
creating works of art can be incredibly frustrating, as well as exciting, and so it's a real mixed bag. It really is. There are days where you just think, what the am I doing? And I'm sure everybody in whatever work they're in has those feelings.
Absolutely.
But I think in the art sometimes it's even more difficult, because it's just so it's just so it's all coming from you, really.
Yeah, you're driving yourself a lot of the time.
It's all coming from, and you're creating from nothing. You don't have a lot of crutches or help out there. It's it's if you're having a bad day,
Yeah, you can live with yourself.
Yeah,
which isn't always easy.
Yeah, but I love that I'm creating something from nothing. I love that. I love the freedom I've got to think of an idea, and that I can, find a way to make that idea, become a reality. And the rush and the adrenaline and the thinking that no time is wasted. When I'm in bed, in the shower, just drifting off to sleep, or just washing the dishes or doing the laundry, it's always with me. I'm always thinking, just sitting in that sort of almost semi-subconscious place. My brain is just always thinking how it's going to work and where I'm going to go, but not in any forced way. It's just doing its own
Comes
thing
naturally.
And then as soon as I walk into the studio,
you're
into
ready.
Into it.
Yeah.
And
I think artists do have to put a lot of thinking time into what they do. And I think that's what's hard sometimes when you're a mum or you've got a busy job, to actually have that clarity or that headspace.
Yeah.
And even just, the fact that you're really looking closely at things around you as well as doing the thinking. I think that is so much a part of the practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge part of the practice. I think without that, you're not going to get that richness at the end that's so important.
Yeah.
My feeling is it's actually helpful to me when I've got lots of other things happening, because it's like that little sacred place in my head that's exciting and keeps me buoyant, that I've got this project or this thing that I'm working through, and it's very helpful. That's always been very helpful to me in life. Not always easy, because most of the time you're working through challenging, things that you have to work through that are sometimes very difficult. But at the end, it's that purpose and that feeling that you're going to create this really interesting piece of art at the end of it, whether it's a necklace or whether it's a wall installation. It's it
feeds you, doesn't it?
It does.
Really?
It feeds your it feeds your soul, really, and it's so enriching. And I feel incredibly grateful to have had that most of my life, and to hopefully have it until one day I'm not here anymore. Hopefully
you're in the fire pit.
Yeah.
Wow, that could be an interesting piece of jewellery.
Well, blood and bones are actually used extensively in pit firing. So
really?
That's
there you
thought.
Go. Oh, funny. Okay, so I'm just wrapping it up. What's in the future for you, do you think?
The future for me, I think, is just to do more of the same and just, follow my path into, I've got my life's work and probably a couple of other life's works, sitting there for me. But I'd like to get some of my work into Europe, because jewellery in particular is very seasonal. So I've got some thoughts on that, and I'll be working towards getting my work over there. And also, but locally, that is absolutely, key. So I'll be working away at that part of it.
I can actually see your jewellery on the catwalk.
Yeah, I would love to do a collaboration with, a New Zealand designer, someone who fits the spirit of what I'm doing. That would be fantastic.
Be amazing.
And if it's meant to happen, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep doing my improving on my jewellery and maybe creating new collections, as I get inspired by different things. And I will also be, off on my tangents and going crazy with my my wall sculptures too. That will be a never-ending love that I will pursue forever. So having lots of fun with that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what other things you come up with and how your practice develops. Because I think it's such beautiful work, and I think I need to own one of your necklaces.
Oh, that can
I nearly
be
took
arranged.
one a while ago, but it didn't happen. So obviously it wasn't the one.
Oh, well, if it's meant to be, it'll meant to be.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I can definitely see you in one. You'll have to come and call by my studio.
Yeah.
I've just got some fantastic work out of the wood kiln.
Really?
Oh,
I
you
can't wait
wait.
to see it.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Cool. Oh, well, such a lovely chat. Thank you, Amanda. And I'm just going to finish now with a few quick Kiwi questions, which might not be quite as spontaneous because we have done this before. So I should think of some other ones.
Don't worry,
off
I've
the top of my
already
head.
forgotten, even though it was last week.
So pavlova or roast lamb?
Oh, that's right. Definitely not roast lamb because I don't really eat meat these days, although I did have a chicken sandwich. But, it's rare. So I'd have to say the pav.
Okay. Beach or mountain?
Beach.
North Island of New Zealand or the South
Oh,
Island?
yeah, that's really impossible for me. Oh, God. Do I really have to say one or the other?
Well, you can say both if you want.
can. Yeah, I love both. I love
different
both.
reasons,
I
I guess.
any parts that are raw. I love the East Cape of the North Island because, of course, that's where I'm from. But all the way up to the tip.
Yeah.
I love the upper north. Very upper north, and I love the East Cape. Those are my favourites. But South Island. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't even have to say anything. The South Island's just
I think
incredible.
we're pretty lucky. Wherever you go, really, in New Zealand, it's pretty beautiful.
Mm.
All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up, Amanda. Thank you so much for being the most patient, generous, kind, loving friend.
Oh.
I have to, as I said at the beginning of this episode, I did have some issues and lost your podcast that we recorded last week. And, when you're trying something new and you're slightly out of your comfort zone, it's not always easy, and especially when it involves somebody else. But, and I can't quietly sort of make these mistakes with nobody knowing. That's a scary thing. But, I really appreciate how good you were to me.
You're so welcome. I mean, at the end of the day, it makes you better at what you're doing when you go through that
exactly
stuff.
And it's actually quite nice to have a second conversation because I think we came up with a few new things and went down slightly different tangents and different roads, which was nice. So I feel doubly blessed to have had two beautiful conversations with you. So thanks, Amanda.
Good. Thanks, Amanda.